Hey Todd, you want a beer?
And you want to smoke some pot?
You want to have some premarital sex?
We love premarital sex.
Yeah, premarital sex.
Yes, I do. So it is the 20th anniversary of me putting Jason in space, Jason X, and please join me on Uncensored Radio to talk about all the loveliness of this subtle little movie.
Yeah, premarital sex.
Shut up, Kitty!
Hello, UCR. What's your favorite scary movie?
Hello out there, UCR fans that love a little bit of something spooky. Welcome to our Friday the 13th show, which can only mean one thing. We're headed back to camp. Well, kind of. In a brand new, bold direction with a monumental, let's say, entry in the series. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest joining us today.
I mean, not only a special guest, a favorite guest.
Of course. A much honored and loved guest. Mr. Todd Farmer is in the house, or in his house, more exactly. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
We are here. We are ready to talk to you again because it's Friday the 13th, and every Friday the 13th, we like to give people a little something special. So we decided to, or will be by the time they see this. Shh, the magic of television. So we've jumped a few entries, and we're at Jason X, strangely enough. Wow, but tush. So, as always, if you have not seen Jason X, it's 21 years ago now. So if you are late to the party, you're late to the party. It's on Netflix here in Australia. So
if you haven't seen it at this point, don't.
Okay, Todd, I don't like that kind of attitude. Okay.
Hey, you're gonna have to get used to that kind of attitude.
Listen, I'm gonna spank you if you have that kind of
lot of
attitude.
feeling. He has a lot of feelings about the film, and that's okay. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about the film, and I'm sure Todd's heard all of them. So if you haven't seen it and you don't want any spoilers, pause this, come back to it. Otherwise, we're jumping straight in with, as I said, 2001. It was that long ago.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh,
That feels
It felt like the newer one, but it's old as well.
It's old. We are all old.
This gets a lot of hate, but I love it. I'm just unashamed about how much I love this movie. And it's not just because Todd's right there.
I saw where it wanted to be. I knew what it wanted to be, and what we got. So I appreciate because I knew it was going to be like a Jason Aliens.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what it's got going for me. It's got Kane Hodder, who is my favorite Jason. He's one of my favorite villains, period. He's one of my favorite actors that plays villains. I mean, he's my favorite Jason. He plays another one of my favorites, Victor Crowley. It's got camp. I mean, we all know how I feel about campy movies, right? And if you bring up Leprechaun one more time, kids, come on, get over it.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Katie.
Just
you
get
just
over
brought
it,
it up.
okay?
I'm never getting over that. I had to watch that movie.
Get over it, okay? And has one of the best kills in a horror movie, period.
I love that you're stroking your own head there, Todd. It's a beautiful moment.
Look at that.
It had
It
and it has lots of titties. Lots of titties.
appreciated the titties.
His head is. How old is it? 21 years old?
21 years old, in good condition.
It's a freaking old head.
Very handsome face.
Is it weird seeing younger sex doll you, though, every time you walk into your shed?
Yes.
Todd, have you ever gave him a kiss? Tell us.
He's very Others have. I haven't kissed him. He's very tender. Like
It's very tender.
you can tell this. Like you could easily stick your finger right through that. Like
Well,
it's
you gotta be.
Well,
it
here's my
probably
next
shouldn't
question.
be in the tool shed, but
Are you willing to part with him?
Oh, never.
I had some pretty lovely offers, and I said no.
Oh, shucks. I tried.
Not your dad, him.
I tried.
All right, so
Let's
talk pre-development, all the excitement. So this movie came about in the development hell of Freddy versus Jason while we were waiting.
My other favorite.
The last film in the franchise before this one was 1993. It had been dead for a long time, and then this came about. So this was your only pitch, right, for this movie, Todd?
Well, there were a bunch of different ideas. Yes, there were a bunch of different ideas. And I just mentioned the other day because Gilbert Gottfried passed away, and at some point we were so exhausted that it was mentioned, well, what if he's in jail? What if he's in hell? Because he was in hell after Jason Goes to Hell. And somebody suggested, well, what if, and I don't remember who it was. It could have been Noel or Sean or Jimmy or anyone. Somebody suggested that, well, what if Jason's in hell and there are other people in hell, and say Gilbert Gottfried is one of them in hell, and the two of them team up and bust out together.
Katie would have loved that.
That was legitimately an idea for about,
You're making me
for
such
about
a
a day
bad
and a
guy.
half.
Oh god, that's
But there were a bunch of different ideas, and eventually I pitched sort of futuristic versions so that we wouldn't screw with whatever they were doing, Freddy versus Jason. So it would take place 200-300 years in the future.
That's very considerate of you, Mr. Farmer.
I would like to think so.
Yeah,
I'm a team player.
But you're like, I'm not going to fuck with someone else's business. I mean, most people, when they jump into these, especially like later franchise entries, they're like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do my version of it. And everyone's going to suck my dick. And you're like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, but we're talking about Freddy versus Jason. It's King Kong versus Godzilla. I mean, who wants to get in the way of that? So
it was happening at one point, anytime soon. Yeah. But there was really nowhere new to go with the character on Earth, really, was there? Like we'd seen a lot of different iterations and interpretations. I mean, he was a fucking soul worm the last time we saw him.
That's true, and we also knew that there were politics involved. DeLuca was running New Line at the time, and we knew that, I had been told that DeLuca wasn't interested in, an ancient magical book bringing Jason back, or lightning bringing him back, or some incantations or anything like that. So we just kept it straight. A couple starts fucking and Jason wakes up because he hates that. And
that happens, yeah.
And when we pitched DeLuca, he loved that. He loved that part specifically. So there were moments of win.
You said it in the far-flung future of 2008 to start with. Like, whew, like that was good times. 2008 was very dark. It's like, oh, we don't have lighting in 2008. It's like the lighting budget was questionable.
Yeah, a budget for lighting. That's crazy.
Yeah. No lighting budget especially in like a maximum security facility. No lighting. Just keep it nice and dark. That's how we like it. That's how we enjoy it. But I thought that first section was very it felt, it was, what TV show was it? I was watching it the other night. It felt very 90s TV. Like, like the dark staircase. You can tell we're just using the same one over and over again. Just shift the light slightly so it looks like we're on a different level. It's like, work that budget. I enjoyed it. But Jason has been in various stages of decomposition. So does your Jason pick up after Jason Goes to Hell, or does it pick up after? Whereabouts in this is Jason?
I would. My assumption was always there were about 7 or 8 other movies between the two, and so this is where he was at the beginning of ours. And so there was somebody else, maybe Freddy versus Jason, would deal with his busting out of hell if he even did bust out of hell. Right. And so Our idea was that it takes place a number of years later.
He develops his eyes again.
Yeah.
He's
And we
like
had
Michael Myers. He grows eyes out like no one's business.
Exactly.
Well, I think this is the film that like actually discussed that he does regenerate. Like, you know,
He does.
it was always talked about vaguely in other like previous entries, but this one actually, when the scientists and all that were talking, were saying that he does regenerate, and you know that's why he was this anomaly that they wanted to study.
I believe the term was Uber Jason, wasn't it?
Yes.
No,
And,
Uber
and
Jason
that's-
came later in the
He was
film.
just, he was just
And that's-
he was
that's
the
why
horror version of
Cronenberg
Wolverine.
What's that?
He was the horror version of Wolverine.
Yes, he was.
Oh,
He was.
I
He
love
could
that.
regenerate, and that's why Cronenberg wanted to study him. And if you
Yes.
have Cronenberg studying, then you know you're doing something right.
Yeah, right. Hello. Who doesn't love a bit of body horror?
So
Wake
was
up
it
every
true
day
that
and see it.
Cronenberg wanted to be in the movie just to die?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jimmy, the director, had worked with Cronenberg for years, and so when Jimmy reached out to him to say, "Hey, can I use your special effects guys?" Cronenberg said, "Sure, but I want to be in the movie." Jimmy's like, "Of course." And then
Fair.
somebody, because I was in the hotel doing rewrites, and somebody reached out to me. I don't remember who it was, and said, "You know, Cronenberg's rewriting your lines," and I was like they were worried I was going to be upset, and I was like, "That's awesome." Like that whole line about I don't want him frozen, I want him soft. That's not me, that's Cronenberg.
Ooh, I want him soft. Yeah. That surprisingly does sound like you, though, Todd. He captured your voice well. He was like,
No, that was definitely him.
So this is where we also meet our final girl, Lexa Doig, who has popped back up in another horror franchise. She popped up and popped out in the Chucky TV series. I was like, "Hey, girl, I know your head. What's going on?"
Yeah.
I was like, oh. She doesn't look like she's aged that much in 20-something years either.
Yeah, I don't think she's aged at all.
I'm like,
No,
oh,
she looked amazing in Chucky.
yeah,
I
like,
was like,
looks
what
great.
is this? What is she doing? Like,
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind there is a disgusting looking old painting in her attic.
yeah, that just takes all the
Aging
pain.
every
It's
day.
like, you know, she looks great.
She looks fantastic.
She looked very young in this movie too, though. For her character, she's like, "Yes, I am a doctor."
We were all children.
Well, everyone was. Yes, you were a baby boy by the looks of it. You were very like fresh faced and feeling lovely. So of course, when you try and fuck with Jason in any kind of way, like you put a jacket on his head or whatever, there has to become a slaughter. Was that slaughter accurate to your brain? That first one, was it? It was
For the
very
most part,
quick.
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, very quick.
There was
You didn't
a
fuck around.
crotch. There was a crotch grab, which isn't in the movie. I think it may be in the extras. I don't remember. But that's what set it all up. His girlfriend shows up, and the guard goes up, and she grabs Jason's crotch, and that's really.
Well, I
that'll do
remember
it to you.
reading the script, and that was in there. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
think-
oh god.
I can't remember if that's not in the extras because
But it's
I thought it
extras in
was,
your
but-
mind. It's all right.
yeah, it's certainly in my mind. I can see it right now, but because the young lady who, in my mind, it was just like just a grab, but in the I think when they actually shot it, the girl was kind of climbing all over him.
Oh,
I was
she
like,
went
well,
for
you
it.
know what? You deserve to die.
Well,
Yeah.
it's fair. Especially like he wouldn't smell good. Let's be
I
honest.
would think no.
After all
I
that
would
time
think no.
underwater, you go to hell. You
I
turn
don't know.
into a
He
demon
regenerates. Maybe he has like a nice like
worm. He's
lavender.
just got a fresh pine scent. Fresh pine scented Jason. That's how we live.
New car.
I know we're talking about Jason, but I remember meeting Kane Hodder at a horror con, and he smelled very good.
He does smell good. I mean, it's possible that Cronenberg was using him for his pheromones to use in assorted perfumes and colognes.
And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
It's
He
possible.
works for like Dior, the new range of Jason Dior perfume coming at you this season.
Awesome.
So yeah, as I said, Jason of course escapes because we wouldn't have a movie if he didn't.
Yeah.
That'd be a very interesting movie. Just Jason chained up for an hour and a half. Internal monologues.
I've seen that. It's a porn.
Just because that sounds like a porn.
And we try to escape, but the cryogenic pod gets, she gets stabbed. He stabs through. He gets the action hero freeze. I like it. Hey!
And poor Lexa died.
That's. I was waiting for somebody.
No, I was
Just
just
say-
saying there.
Going for
Lexa,
it.
I got it. I got this pose. Lexa gets frozy. She gets froze. She turns into Elsa. 455 years is a long time to be asleep, though.
I mean,
Little bit.
All I'm saying. That's a long
I could
time.
use a nap that long, honestly.
Amen,
Yeah,
That would
sister.
be just amazing.
Amen.
Was there ever a cryogenically frozen head of Walt Disney joke in there somewhere?
Todd's thinking about it. Like,
Don't let me
probably.
down, Todd.
Probably.
Don't let me down.
I find it
We
hard
have-
to believe there wasn't.
Walter Bird. Maybe he's the one that started the war that ended Earth.
That's most likely.
Walt's back and the Nazis are with him. That's a cute moment for everyone.
It wasn't his head though, it was his frozen feet. That's who knew.
The feet of Walt Disney have come to life. So we get anyway. This is where we go into aliens territory because when you go into a dying planet, the first thing you look for is cryogenically frozen things, right?
Yes,
Especially
course.
giant men. Well, Luke would, but that's all right.
I was saying, I feel like Ellen Ripley would not. I feel like this would not pass her vibe test.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Luke, did you read the original script back in the day?
I did. There was a leak, and look, because we were on the forum, on the Friday the
wasn't-
17th forum.
It,
So
it wasn't a
it
leak.
was-
I gave it to Blake.
Oh, well, there you go. Blake leaked it. A lot of us had read it because it was kind of common knowledge that we were all up on it.
But that was the time of the year. Is like in that early 2000s, everyone was like trawling the internet for any kind of anything when movies were coming out. I was going to say a good time. It was an exciting time. Like I remember when, because Scream was crazy. Anytime anyone farted the word Ghostface, it was like, oh, I've got to find out what's going on before everyone else does. Oh! But I remember reading, here we go. Let's go back in time. Upcominghorrormovies.com. Going on their message boards, reading about Jason X, reading about all these different things. I'm going to know before everyone else knows it's going to happen. I don't think that happens anymore because the studios ruin things for you before it even starts. They're like, let's show a teaser trailer and another teaser trailer and a making of the teaser trailer and the meanings of the things behind the teaser trailer. Then the real trailer, then a second trailer, and then when the movie comes out, we'll do another trailer. You've seen everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Why? I try to avoid that. I did that with the last Scream. I watched.
Yeah, me too.
Because I was on Twitter and I got on there was this Twitter fan site that was just leaking stuff. I'm like, no, I will not find out. And I was a very mature adult and didn't do it. So yeah.
I don't watch anything. I don't watch any trailer. If I know I'm going to see the movie, I don't watch the trailer.
Yeah.
I'll watch the trailer if I'm on the fence.
Yeah.
But like for Scream, I didn't know anything about Scream when I went in. Like I had the screenplay. I was sent the screenplay. It's sitting on the computer. I never read it because I didn't want to know.
See, that would be too much temptation if it was sent to me.
No, I agree.
One of my
you're a
favorite
stronger man than
podcasts
me.
just did 2 of the movies I've been waiting to watch, and I'm like, should I listen to it? No, no.
I
guess
avoid
not.
podcasts too. I'm like, cut here.
They just
la, la, la.
they just did Fresh and X, and I was gonna watch them this weekend. And
I want to watch X.
Too Scary didn't watch, just did them, and I was just like, I was working, and I just needed something to listen to. I'm like, should I do it? Should I do it? Nope. I'm gonna watch them this weekend. I'm not gonna do it. And just because X just got such good reviews, and I'm just dying to watch it. Just dying to watch it.
We shall see. Maybe we'll review it.
Maybe.
So anyway,
Well,
this is where we meet this massive cast on this rocket ship to Joy. This is a big. You were just like, I don't need this person to go this way. All right? What came first, the kills or the characters? Let's put it that way.
I mean, Jimmy's idea was always for a school bus, so there was always going to be a bunch of kids and a teacher. And then we decided that since the school bus was in space, it was going to need people to protect it. So we put in the grunts, which is basically aliens. And
boy.
and so I think the kills came later. I mean, we had some idea. Like kills always come in different places. Like the he's screwed part that came out of a drawing from
He's screwed.
just one of the somebody drew a picture of that big crane with the screw on the end of it, and we were like, oh well, clearly someone's going to die on that.
That
Well, the first
best.
kill in this film, though,
It's probably the most. Which is where I'm leading. It's probably the most iconic.
Yep.
Not the
and can I
first
just
kill
say,
in the movie. The first
she
one on
is
the
a
ship.
very beautiful girl too. Whoever played
Absolutely.
Adrian, and then to have that happen to her, I was like, oh my god.
But it was. This is what I want to talk about. There was a lot of fluids in this movie. Things were very wet and very leaky, and especially before he wakes up, it was oozy.
You have
I'm
to
like,
know why
"Ugh."
that is.
Well, I want to know who
Very
was coming up with these costumes. Number one, who?
Okay, let's back up and go to the wetness.
We want to
That's
talk
what
about
I
the
thought.
wait. We want to talk about.
Let's talk
totally
about
talk about
everything.
the wetness.
Jim Isaac was David Cronenberg's special effects guy for freaking years. Of course, there's going to be wetness in this movie.
But I'm like, it was oozy. It wasn't even wetness. It was oozy.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like,
that's
oh.
a Cronenberg thing. It's
I get it.
like, did you see the
hello.
fly? Come on.
I'm not new here. I'm just saying for a Jason like Friday the 13th movie set in space, I don't expect oozy fluids. I was like, okay.
It was very sloppy.
Well, that's what you got. You got a very moist movie. Okay, there you go.
My favorite part was this is kind of where I got that we were gonna go, okay, we're going a bit meta, we're going a bit comedy. Old mate just sits up like no one's business and goes, what the fuck? Where am I? And it's like, oh, okay, I see you. Kane did that moment. I was like, okay, that's cool. And then he just disappears. How is someone A, that big, and B, that squishy, that quiet?
I mean, you have seen a horror movie before.
Yes, I have. But
Okay, good.
in space, no one can hear you squish, apparently. That should have been the tagline.
Maybe the spaceships you're used to are all dry and humidified, but ours are very moist.
Very moist spaceship.
Oh.
Like the aliens crew, they just couldn't afford lights either. It's just, the lighting in space, the lighting in 2045 is not cool. But yeah, we're going to talk about the head smash. She looks like she's had some issues.
This is the best kill.
This is like iconic. So
it is so good.
In a movie series that is, made up of some of the most inventive kills in the world, this one kind of gets up the top. Does that give you a little happy jolly time?
No, because I had nothing to do with any of it.
Oh no!
Oh,
It was me. It was all me.
Nope. I'm in the hotel room, and Noel Cunningham, who's Sean Cunningham, Sean directed the first movie. Noel calls me up and says, I got an idea for a kill. And it wasn't the way this is designed, but it was basically cryogenically freeze somebody and break them apart. And so I've always said, I'll take a good idea wherever I can find it, because I feel like I can recognize when a good idea comes along. And I felt like that was a really good idea. So we wrote it that way. Never thought that it would amount to anything. It's the special effects that pulled this off. You bring in any other special effects team, that gag doesn't work. Not like that. They pulled that off. And if you look at the guys and you look at what they've done, they did all the Cronenberg stuff. They did RoboCop. I mean, there's a ton of talent coming into this from a special effects side. So yes, it was Noel's idea. I put it so that it worked on the page, but it was the effects team. If they hadn't pulled it off like that, we wouldn't be talking about it today. It would not be on anybody's top 10 list.
And it was so good that Mythbusters actually
yes,
they busted it.
yes.
They disproved it. It is so popular that Mythbusters actually went out of their way to disprove this myth.
So with a cast this big, I think that obviously there's gonna be some characters that you love, some characters that you hate, and some characters that get lost in translation because we just need a body count.
Mm-hmm.
I could not stand Kinza, so great writing. If she was meant to be the most annoying person on the ship, I would have just blasted her out of the airlock straight away. But her death was great. That made me very, very happy in my heart that she's like, and then exploded. I'm like, yes, bye, girl. You get to die. But I think the entire fan base has to, and I think nerds everywhere, thank you very much for KM.
I love Cam
100%.
with all my heart. All my little
Cam.
heart and soul.
I was
Little
a little
fun
freaked
fact.
out when her nipples fell off, though. Nah, I was not. a fan.
Well, a lot of people don't know that those are my nipples.
Can you
I
show
knew I
us now, Todd?
recognized those. I knew I recognized them.
I appreciated
Yeah.
them. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah, no, KM was actually the Friday the 13th game that was sort of halted because of the lawsuit that happened.
/ murders.
Yeah. So KM and the Jason X, the Grendel, everything was actually put into the game. And they actually had finished everything. And so there's some mods and stuff now on the PC version where KM's actually put into the game. And they had done like an amazing job with her face scan and everything.
Fun fact.
So we'll never get to see it.
Steve,
Was
Luke,
she-
and
did-
Katie
did she
played
actually
one time
come in
and
and
got
get
cursed
scanned?
out.
She must have, because it looks exactly like her.
It does look a lot like her. I'll put it
'Cause
up
I
on
never
the
saw-
screen.
I saw some of the models of Uber Jason, but I never saw anything beyond that.
What was the reasoning behind KM? Did you go? I need a strong female character to go against Jason, or you're like, let's fuck things around?
I mean, I don't know if it's in the draft you read. It originally, KM was 3PO. It was a dude. And at some point, I don't know where the idea came from, but we made her female. And then the idea that she wants to be a real girl. She's in love with Sonaran. And the moment he realizes that is the moment when she's like, if you fuck me, I'll go super bot and save your lives. Those words are never used, but that's the general idea.
implication,
I kind of love
that.
that.
But like lines, delivery, I think that again, if there were to be further sequels from this movie, you would have to have her back. She was like, she was the gold star player out of this cast. It's like you deserve the gold medal. She went full like Linda Hamilton meets Terminator.
Yeah, I mean,
Even the one-liners,
bondage
like
outfit.
the one-liners, the whole "I'll be back on my feet soon when I get some." I'm like, amazing, incredible.
I mean, if you're gonna do the 10th Jason movie, you might as well just go for it.
Exactly. And
And she
did you get much? Because that's obviously the way it was written. With like there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek moments and meta humor in there. Did anyone raise an eyebrow at that when you were coming at it as the 10th installment of Jason, or was it?
Well, I mean,
no one
truth
cared?
be told, I resisted the tongue in cheek at first because that's not. I wanted to do Alien or Aliens. I wanted it to be dark and somewhat realistic. And then Scream came out and changed everything. And so at that point, I knew I was going to lose. The studio wanted it to be tongue in cheek. Sean wanted it to be tongue in cheek. So I wrote, the line "he's screwed" is my line. So I mean, I certainly jumped on board. So no one had a problem with those lines because that's
Because
Scream had made that become a thing. And so all movies were doing that. And so we didn't have a choice.
So it would have been a very different. Had Scream never existed, it would be a very different film. Is what we're saying.
I think so, but I don't know if it would have had the I mean, I don't know. It probably would have been just as hated, but who knows? I don't know.
See, I don't get I took my best friend to see this. I went when it was in the cinemas. So I'm a good boy. Back in 2001, I took my best friend to see this movie, and she will never let me forget it. You made me sit through. I was like, hey, it was meta before meta was cool, and she's like, yeah, she would never let me forget it. I love it. It makes me happy. Some of the shit she's made me sit through. I'm like, if these walls could talk too. Like, how many sad lesbians can you have?
I mean, this is
Come
fucking
on.
better than that.
I know, right? I'm like, come on. I would rather watch this again 5,000 times, and but whatever.
We I've grown to love it. I was worried back in the day. This is my first movie. I thought I'd never work again.
Yeah.
And then, reviews come out and people are hating it. Nobody's going to see it. And I'm like, all right, well, that was a fun run. I'm going to pull my construction stuff back out and go back to work. So,
but and you're obviously with your projects, you're in it as well. So you're like, oh, okay. Was like, well, my career is really over because I've not only wrote the movie, but I was in the movie. It's like,
well, I mean, I never planned on being an actor. That was just a fluke.
It's just happy
I was going to say, how did that come about, though, Todd? Like, because they included you as a character. I
mean, we were weeks from shooting, and either Jimmy or Sean asked, "Do you want to be in it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be in. I'll play one of the grunts." And I was like, "I'll do the VR one," because I really like the VR scene.
I do too. I think there should have been more of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the VR scene, but the VR scene was always a setup to Crystal Lake, and Crystal Lake was always a setup to Pamela Voorhees. That was always the plan, was to have, when Sonoran's doing all the programming, he's trying to figure out ways of distracting Jason. The thing he finally comes up with, because nothing is working, and the thing he finally comes up with is his mom. And mom shows up, and then Jason walks out into the water and drowns her. And Sean and Jimmy and everybody was like, "No, you cannot do that." And I go, "Oh yeah. He's physically changed. This is how he emotionally changes." They were like, "You cannot. Jason will never harm his mother." And I go, "Oh yeah, he's going to drown her."
That would have been amazing. That would have been.
They fought me tooth and nail over that. And so finally, I mean, I couldn't win that. I wasn't writing the check. And so Jimmy said, "Well, what about this? What if he pulls her out of the water and she's wire beneath, like she's not fully rendered, and that's what breaks the spell?" And I was like, "All right, fine." So I wrote it that way. And then they couldn't make a financial agreement with Betsy. And so she wasn't in the movie, which was always a regret, because that's the whole reason the VR scene was created in the first place, was to bring her back.
It would have been really cool.
That would have been awesome.
Now, I still like the VR scene. I like that original VR scene with the monster and Jason, because you never get to see that. And my cum shot, which when the stuff is dripping and
again, lots of fluids.
Can we say cum shot on this podcast?
We can say whatever.
So,
Yep. That's fine.
Uncensored radio.
That's fine.
I enjoyed the VR stuff, and it was fun.
Well,
Shoot. That was day one, by the way. Me creeping around with a gun. That was the very first shot in the movie. And so I remember
I'd have written myself a better death. I didn't.
I already lectured him. I already lectured him on it.
Like what? Oh, I am just gonna let him smack my head into a wall a couple of times. She's right. Like, why?
We had this. We had a
genuinely.
We had a powwow before the show about how you've got Kane Hodder and you're letting.
Yeah.
All right, let the man defend himself. Let the man defend himself.
What was your thought process?
I have no defense. I don't remember if there was something and this was because of time. I don't remember why it was that. I do know that my stuntman, Kane wouldn't let me do that part. And because there's a hole cut in the wall, and the stuntman is Kane's, because I did do a couple of those shots, the close-ups, and Kane puts his hand right there, and he's like, "I'm not going to push." He said, "I need you to hit the wall as hard as you can because it'll look good, but I'm not doing the pushing." Because Kane was if anything, Kane was a stuntman first before anything else.
So he knows.
And but the stuntman who came in for the long shot, he missed the hole and just his nose exploded.
Oh shit!
And so people are like, "That's not a very good stunt." And I go, "Well, it's the only massive injury on the set because that guy's nose." And that guy, you can see, because they were filming X-Men at the same time. So there's a scene at the beginning of X-Men when Wolverine goes in and he fights this big bald dude. That big bald dude is the guy who got his nose shattered a month and a half later when he came out. And I mean, we were standing at the edge of the seat, at the edge of the stage, and when he hit, you could hear the 2x4 breaking. I mean, it was just this loud crunch.
And noses make a very specific noise too.
Yes, they do. And
everywhere.
And guys, Kane Hodder's a big boy. Like, he's a big boy.
Probably the worst grunts in movie history. Like, I'm gonna wander around with it. We didn't obviously have an ammunition budget on the movie. they really, got rid of them quite quickly. They went through those grunts.
They quickly. Being Jason.
they being the communal Jason and the filmmakers got rid of them quite quickly. It's just like, all right, we gotta go.
If you look at Aliens and you look at this movie, that the structure is the same. So this is the part where they show up on the site and they see where all the little beacons are in Aliens. So they send the grunts over there, and then suddenly there's aliens coming out of the walls and killing everybody. And Ripley's screaming, "You got to get them out of there! You got to get them out of there!" At the same time, you've got Rowan screaming, "You got to get them out of there! You got to get them out of there!" It's the same beat. I simply ripped off Cameron, and I have no shame.
This is where I started to really re-engage. Like the other night, I was like, okay, this is what I didn't really remember the first part of the movie. We got to the face shot, I'm like, yeah, I remember that. And then when everyone started, like, once the grunts were all dead, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I remember this movie now. And this is where I felt it had some kind of tension and stakes again. I was like, oh, they're in space, they're gonna die. Like, you can't fuck with Jason in space. Where can you run? Like, is that the whole point of putting him in space? Like,
yeah,
you can't run anywhere.
There's nowhere to run. And at some point, he's going to stick a fist through the wall, and that's going to decompress everything, and everybody's going to die.
Yeah, it literally sucks,
Yeah.
But after KM,
this sucks on so many levels.
After KM,
I loved her death. I loved it.
I did love the Star Trek original series moments where everyone's like, "Oh, I've got to go." Oh, that was cute. I enjoyed that. The poor people of Solaris they got fucked, didn't they? That looked like a big space colony, and they're gone.
Bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts. Yeah. We remember them well.
May they R.I.P. I mean,
may they are. Yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, I remember there was about 10 minutes of concern because of 9/11.
Oh, true.
Oh.
I didn't even think of that.
There was. I mean, and the decision was made. Just don't say anything. And so no one did.
Yeah.
But
well, no one thought. I didn't even think about it until you just mentioned it. So there we go. Yeah. The feeling was correct. Yes. So once that happens, they're truly in the fuck it bucket. They're like, oh my god, what will we do? But we get KM, of course, ultimate weapon that she is, like blowing every part of Jason away, turning him into a meaty milkshake of Jason goodness. Like,
yes.
That's quite descriptive.
Obviously, like, that would be, everyone would assume this is the end point. You blow the guy up, you blow up, a third of his skull or 2/3 of his skull. That's over until we meet this gentleman.
Jason.
Bless his heart.
Bless his heart. Now, talk to us a little bit about Uber Jason. Obviously, there was an idea to change the original Jason into something different, something new, into a new interpretation. Is this RoboCop Terminator Jason everything you thought it was going to be, or was it going to be different? Or
it's not what I originally envisioned, but it is designed by the guy who designed RoboCop, so of course it's going to have those similarities. But there was a movie with Stallone, Judge Dredd, where he gets cast out of the city and he's out in the middle of nowhere. And I forget the guy's name, but there's this creature he runs into that's part human and part mechanic. And it looks painful. Like his jaw is metal and he's got plates in his head and there's stuff everywhere. And it just looks gross. That's kind of what I thought it would be, because the machine is malfunctioning. So it's creating, it's bringing Jason back. And the whole thing is structured and designed so that when that happens, you think it's the end of the movie. And then some dickhead puts it on the poster and in the trailer.
So it ruins everything.
But that's one way of doing it. But I wouldn't have put the penis on the poster of the Crying Game, but that's just me. I like to save a couple of surprises. I like to put dick as a surprise, but some people like to put it on the poster.
Dick's always a surprise, isn't it?
I would like to think so.
I would like to surprise Dick. I mean,
yeah. Well, look, you're talking to the right panel. Let's be honest. We were talking cum shots earlier, so why not?
I mean, it is a part of life.
Cum shots,
money shots.
Surprise Dick.
especially with all the fluids in this movie, but it's okay.
There's a lot of
We
fluid.
have various escape attempts. La 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 la. As we were talking about, we go back into the VR. I waited for this part. I was like, after the shattering, I went, oh, I remember what happens in this movie. This happens in this movie.
Smoke marijuana and have premarital sex with us?
We love
We love
premarital sex.
premarital sex.
That's amazing. I think that is some of the best comedy I've seen. And after going back to it, when he's beating
I love it.
with the other sleeping bag and then the tree, it's like they fucked him right up. They hit him right in his soft spot with that. That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant.
One of the things I love the most, you can always tell if somebody's a true Friday fan when they mention that scene. And I'm like, well, you know where that came from, don't you? And some are like, no, where? And I'm like, seriously? So it always bothers me. I ripped off another Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
movie, of course.
it tickled me so much that it was like 7 but on speed. It was the nerd version of 7 because like you can imagine all the all the nerd boys at home back when we thought this is what VR was going to be. They could go into Crystal Lake and see free titties. And they're like, oh, this is what's going to happen. And Jason's like, no, I don't, not on my watch. So this is where we
premarital sex for you.
Yeah, this is where we would have got Pamela, right? As you were saying.
Yeah. In fact, that scene replaced Pamela.
It would have been such a different scene. Like, I love how silly this is. I love the mood of this, but it would have been so good with Pamela.
It tied it back into the franchise.
It would have been beautiful.
Even more so, like it would have been cool if, and I know that we probably would have been throwing this kind of money around, but you could have got a couple of different final girls to pop up, like, you know what I mean, just to really piss Jason off. That would have been cool. Like, I'm really bummed out about the Pamela thing now. I'm like, oh, fuck, that would have been really cool. That would have been the best moment in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
But instead, we get the tent of life. It's like a very nice little. I love that the spaceships kind of look like Jason as well. So when their little legs go down, they've got the little eye. It's like little sperm Jasons. It's cute, little space sperm Jasons. I enjoy it.
I mean, at this point in the movie, we had completely run out of money.
Yeah, it was all moment.
Glue
So you just
and
kind of
duct
figured,
tape.
fuck it, go for it.
Yeah.
Got nothing to
there was-
lose.
There was no money.
Look, we have two and how would you measure that? 2 1/8 survivors boarding the escape ship. You know, the characters that you want to see too. Like for once, they are the characters that I would have liked to have seen survive. So good work. I liked seeing them. You know, jet off. I did love. He's coming towards us.
Yeah.
just Jason. And then intercept. It was gold.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this movie's going to end with a bit of a laugh. I'm like, that's hilarious. And then the re-entry, like him riding him into re-entry. It's like, okay, interesting moment. So was the lake that they crashed into on Earth 2's Crystal Lake?
I think it's Crystal. Yeah.
You think it's Crystal Lake?
Yeah.
Of course. So that's where we end this movie.
Yeah.
But when you were writing this treatment, of course, you would have to probably think, it's Friday the 13th. What if they come for me with a sequel idea? Did you have a sequel idea? I know that there's comic books out there that have, taken this and ran with it and done Jason, like the franchise Jason versus this Jason, and they amalgamate and become like Uber Jason. But did you have any particular ideas on a sequel? Or?
Oh, no, I absolutely did. I mean, I did because Kevin, the news that Kevin had Scream 2 and Scream 3 planned out, which was not true. He didn't. But brilliant marketing to say so.
Right.
So I started, while we were in production, I came up with 2 more movies. And one was, there'd be the one where basically our cast wakes up on Earth 2 and, they're rescued and they're down there. And Jason is brought back because there's better technology there. And you've seen that we can rebuild and put arms back together and all that kind of stuff. So we have that technology. So Jason is brought back. and he completely creates havoc all over the place. And there's a bunch of technology that we introduce early on, sort of like we did with the VR stuff. And one of the bits of technology that we introduce is teleportation and so forth and all. So anyway, long story short, at the end of the movie, they send him into a wormhole. And so the third movie is, I think the end of that movie would be, 1980 Crystal Lake. And, you sort of see the opening of the original Friday the 13th. And then,
I like it.
And then Jason steps through. And so it's, so the final movie is, back at Crystal Lake, and it's Uber Jason versus original, Sackhead Jason.
And then you would have,
So we bring Derek in.
Bring out Amy Steele.
Bring Derek to fight Kane.
That's amazing. That would
Make this movie
so good. The things that would the things that get lost in translation amongst the years. Did you ever have a pitch for Freddy vs. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a draft of it back in the day.
What was yours? Tell me.
It was mostly big event. I don't remember any of the gags off the top of my head. There was but it was something that we sent to New Line, and they sent it back to us after about a week, saying that we appreciate it, but it's just not for us. But they'd never opened it. They sent it back in the same envelope that we had mailed it in, and it had not been read, it had not been opened.
Those
I was like,
okay.
And now we don't feel bad about what happened to New Line Cinema. Boom.
No, got what you deserved.
Oh dear, that's a dangerous game.
Good times.
There. It's a dangerous game. But,
so, Todd, my darling.
Yes, Katie.
What do you got up? What's going on? What's
dangerous question? I don't know
besides how many quarters and what's up?
What is up right now?
Yeah.
What can you tell us?
Well, I am currently writing a horror remake. I know nobody likes those, but if you take a look at Friday the 13th that I did, nobody went to see that. And if you look at My Bloody Valentine remake that I did, everybody went to see that. And then if you look at the original Drive Angry I did, nobody went to see that. So I'm doing a remake. I don't know if anybody's going to go see it, but statistically speaking, there's a chance.
Todd, you got naked in My Bloody Valentine. I think that's the factor there.
I did.
So I think you're gonna have to get naked in this one too.
Okay.
Yes.
That was a hard
get
sell.
naked. I don't have a problem getting naked.
I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna ask.
Buying tickets open tonight.
I'm not asking for specifics, but is it a well-known movie, or is it something that is a bit more niche?
All four of you have seen it.
All four of us have seen it.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'm
fucking leprechaun, isn't it?
You're not writing leprechaun, are you?
I was like, is it leprechaun? Because fucking
leprechaun, are you, Todd?
I wouldn't even watch
this.
I'm like, I would not even watch Leprechaun if Todd was getting naked in it. Sorry.
Why not?
I would. Todd, I will watch anything if you're going to get naked in it.
She wants to see your shillelagh.
I like getting naked.
We make
I'm
a deal
naked
right
from the
now.
waist down
next
right
interview.
now.
I was about to say next interview, Todd's got to do naked. Let's just go there.
We're gonna red. Next interview we're gonna do a Red Shoe Diaries version of Todd, soft focus. You can wear one of the billowy see-through.
Yeah. I like that.
Listen,
the Red Shoe Diaries. Good times.
Don't like dolls. Don't like puppets. Don't like clowns. But if you're naked in it, I will go see it.
Well, there you go.
That's it.
The big scoop is remake coming from Todd Farmer sometime. Hopefully,
we're gonna remake. I did before that. I did one that was based on true story, which I had. There's a director was just attached, and so whatever's gonna happen.
There's good stuff coming.
There's other good stuff. So yeah, we'll see. No, they won't let. The old days were where you could talk about this stuff. That's long gone. You can't talk about anything anymore.
Those NDAs are tight, baby.
I was about to say the good old NDA.
NDAs are tight.
I
Well, thank you
understand.
so much for joining us today, Todd, to discuss your baby. Your baby
It
that
has
has
been my
become
pleasure.
that has
I'm
become
glad
a
we
cult
solved it.
success. He's become a cult success though. Like after all the years of people like, oh my god, I fucking hate this movie.
I love this
Like
movie.
it seems like it's becoming one of those movies of people like fucking Jason X, yeah, man. Like it's one
I
of those
agree.
cult ones now. So did you ever think you'd
was
have a
on
cult
the
movie?
Jason X train before it was cool, and I will stay on the Jason X train while it's
There
cool.
actually there have been a lot of people reach out who really like the movie. There have been a lot of celebrities who've reached out who really like the movie, and that did not happen 20 years ago.
No, it did not.
That was
No,
not.
it did not.
That was not a thing. And so,
And look, I think at the time too, people were like, "Oh, it's jumped the shark," and rah, rah, rah. But now it's like people appreciate it for what it is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's
No,
a fun
obviously-
movie. Like,
The
It
problem
wasn't the
is,
original, and it wasn't
the
Scream, so I
problem
don't like
is
it.
some people take horror way too seriously. They want it to be this just terrifying experience, and some of it is. Some of it is genuinely terrifying and very scary, and yeah. But some of it, you really just got to take it for what it is and have a good laugh and have a few jump scares and enjoy it. And if you go into it knowing that you're going to have a good time, you're going to have a much better viewing experience. And the true horror fans get that.
I mean,
Your
I only
fans
did
get
it so I could get my head. That's the only reason. I
Yeah.
did it.
He only got it so he could give himself head with his head. Like, come on, good times.
you know, I'm going to
Nice.
make out with that, don't you, Todd?
Uh,
If ever I get in that shed, you're going to come
uh,
and find me.
Is that how you scream? Is that how you scream, though, Todd?
I don't know why they tell you to do that. It's like nobody
Ooh.
screams that way.
Ooh!
But the same thing, every movie I've ever done, they've all said do that, and I'm like, why? That's just like
It's like real
inviting.
life. Less teeth, the better, right?
That's like inviting a weenie. That's not the kind of thing.
That's right.
I
You
love
don't want to
it. It's
grate. You don't want to
fantastic.
grate the carrot. You don't want to grate the carrot.
But it really is. It's in great shape for
He
22
is.
years old.
He's got a nice
Yeah.
tan too. He was very tan.
He does. He has a good tan.
He doesn't look that yellow. He looks yellow on the screen. I don't know why, but he
No,
doesn't
he
look
looks
that
tan
yellow.
to us.
He looks tan.
You
Oh,
need
does
to
he?
take
Okay.
that to the salon and go, I want this color. It's very tan. I want this all over.
Like it's even got my little dent back there. I got that
Oh.
right here. It's very fun.
Beautiful master. But yes, yeah. Thank you for joining us. It's been amazing. We always have fun.
Always
with
a
you,
pleasure.
so thank you for joining us. Go out and watch Jason X, kids. Have yourself a good time, and we will see you sometime in the future talking about something. So who knows? You never know what we're going to talk about. But until then, make sure you keep it creepy. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye. Todd Farmer put Jason in space, man. I mean, space. It's really overwhelming. Anyways, what do you think about that, Todd?